Hi, hello, and welcome. I am definitely not Vlad, and you're watching me do some more keys on my pugging journey to 2.8k rating on my Guardian Druid. Now, before I continue doing any more keys, I really need to address a very, very important issue, and that is my fucking transmog. Look at this atrocity of a character. Like, what the hell are you wearing? The boots look cool because the boots are crafted, but everything else looks kind of completely mismatched. So I think the way I'm going to address this is right now, the trader's tender thing, the trading post, that's what it's called. Yes, the reward for filling out the bar is a blood troll transmog. That looks cool as hell. I guess I'm gonna try and get some mounts from raid bosses. That would be pretty cool. And I'll do some quests as well, and that should, that should finish it all off. Okay, doing the quests took a long ass time because I went and did the campaign quest, but it turns out the quests have to grant you experience in order for them to count for this for the thingy thing. So I had to actually go through a lot more than just 30 quests. Anyway, I'm done with the quests, I'm done with the trading post. Let's grab the actual transmog. And this is the blood troll transmog that we are going to settle for. I generally don't like cloaks, so I just removed the cloak. We're using Terrox Quill, which is the only weapon that matches this sort of color scheme we've got going on, because I really don't have many weapons to work with, because this is a fresh new account and I have basically nothing. So I think this works rather well. I'm pretty happy with it. Now I don't look like a clown anymore, so we could just keep using this every time we need to upgrade some or update some gear. Now let's get into some Mythic Plus. Alright, we're doing a Neltharus plus 10 with the boys and the girls and the whoever else joined. I've explained to the group that we are going to be doing chains up to the second boss. Everything after the first boss is dead. First boss being the Mammoth. Because I believe I can pull off a pull of me just going all the way to that boss. I think that'll be quite good. It is tyrannical, so the trash isn't too much of a concern. I'm going to grab this Thaumaturge now that he's pathed into us. Kick him. We're going to use Incarnation here to survive. We haven't gotten Incorporeal yet. Here are the first Incorporeal. I'll grab this one that's further away. Fortunately, that means I couldn't interrupt the thingy thing with the stuffy stuff, but hopefully it was dispelled. Okay, quite nice. Let's give people movement speed and keep moving. I got stuck. I'm stuck! Bark Skin and Rage of the Sleeper, and mash it down. Interrupt that. I'll have Incapacitating Roar for the next one. If he decides to cast it, he's going to die before he finishes casting that. Group DPS is quite high. The Outlaw Rogue is kicking butt. Or sorry, not Outlaw. That it hasn't been... Actually, yes, Outlaw. I thought I said Combat Rogue because earlier today in my raid with my guild I said Combat Rogue instead of Outlaw Rogue and I got called out for it. Was told I was living in the past. Going to AoE interrupt because there's multiple mobs. May as well. I can use my next regular interrupt on the next cast. The reason we're interrupting those is because if the debuff that it applies times out, a Molten Elemental is spawned, and that Molten Elemental does quite a bit of damage. We're going to start dragging this into the boss. Actually, everything died before I could even reach the boss. And somehow we didn't start the RP. I should have moved closer to the boss to start the RP. That's on me. This could have been a little bit faster. I could have already been fighting this boss by now. We're going to taunt the boss and get started. Time warp. Hopefully the mage uses it. There we go. Now ideally we'd also get a whatchamacallit. a good bait on the charge, I guess. I don't know, my brain just farted and decided that I didn't need to say that sentence. Yeah, I'm recording this after having raided for 3 hours. We were progressing on experiments. My guild still hasn't killed Mythic experiments. This is quite rough, in my opinion. It's one of the harder bosses for like a non-cutting edge guild. This is our first foray into Mythic, so we're still struggling with it. But we got some very, very good pulls in. But that's besides the point. I'm here to talk about Mythic Plus. So the big thing about this boss is just keeping him out of the what are they called? Out of the lava, so he doesn't do extra damage. You really want to make sure that he's not standing in any of the lava. He's going to die before it matters, though, so this is okay. There we go. Let's give everyone movement speed, and let's keep moving. Another thing to worry about as DPS here is that you need to stand in such a way that if he targets you with the charge, you end up forcing him to charge into a nearby wall, which makes him travel less, which makes him drop fewer zones. Pulling to boss. And hopefully they remember to use chains. Okay, just moonfire everything. I'm going to start with some defensives here. Hopefully people keep rolling. They just need to keep moving. Gonna try. He's not gonna use the interruptible ability first, so I can keep going. Hopefully people keep moving. I really hope they don't DPS because I won't be able to hold aggro on the enemies in the back. The rogue definitely figured out what I was doing. He's following, but the rogue is definitely the MVP of this run because he's just blasting the DPS. Gonna keep going. Taunt those down there. Gonna use survival instincts here because everything's gonna start converging. Going to use incapacitating roar to interrupt those casts. We're going to drop this down, knock them all back. Hopefully I can get some healing through here. Very good. People are using the chains. Getting most of them. I'm going to interrupt that cast. Okay. It was a bit of a weird pull because people started hitting things. But we got it done. It's just the big bad NPC. Or the mini boss, I guess we could call it. I did drop very, very low at a point. Oh my guy's mouse disconnected. That's rough. Imagine that happening in the middle of a pull. But luckily it's a +10, so we pulled through. On a hierarchy, there's no freaking way I would have done that. I would have done the pull in 2 sections. And we would have used fewer chains the first time around. Okay, gonna pop my incarnation here. Okay, we have a blind on it. There's only one NPC, or only one enemy, so it's not a big deal. It also got polymorphed for some reason. That was a bit of a waste of a cast by the mage, but it doesn't matter. Maybe he didn't see that it was blinded. I've also added some which you may have noticed, I've added some extra WeakAuras. Okay, well, Fiery Rock, I'm gonna try and make him stand still here, okay. I'm gonna wait. Oh no, that's not good at all. One of the DPS ran in and broke the chain, so we had a double stack, but the druid pulled through. He managed to heal through it. That's really, really good. Good job on the druid. I'm going to get that CC'd very quickly. There we go. People can keep DPSing. But yeah, I don't know if I explained it in the last run, but you want to stagger those chains. Either you want to break all 3 at the same time, or you want to stagger the chains. You don't want to break the second one before the first one ends if you're going to stagger them. Because that just prolongs the amount of time that you're taking damage over time, and you're also making the second stack do so much more damage. So you either stagger all of them, or you go quick 2 into 1, or you go all 3 at the same time if your cooler has massive cooldowns and is able to just heal through that. Here I don't think we want to break at all, we just want to kill. No, I'm trying not to break at all, guys. I'm trying to break. There was no reason to break there, but I guess these guys don't know that. That mage needs to use some sort of personal or something. Okay, we pulled through. Don't need to break if close to dying. Okay, mage pulled for me, but we're going to give everyone movement speed. We have 13 seconds until the chain is usable again, so we can start pulling. By the time we've pulled everything, we will be able to use the chains. I'm going to quickly jump over here to grab the hunter, and I'm going to try and grab these birds as well. There we go, Moonfire coming in clutch. You're going to use an interrupt here, an AoE interrupt. And we are ready to use the chain. We're using the chain. These guys weren't all stacked up. That's unfortunate. We're going to knock everything back. Use some cooldowns. The druid has been doing a great job. Okay, I haven't done a great job. I didn't notice that there was a CC-able thing in the back. But the druid has been doing a great job. I didn't use any personal cooldowns or any defensive cooldowns during that pull, and I really should have. That's my bad. I am sometimes bad about using them while I'm gathering for a big pull. But the druid was an absolute beast and kept me alive through all of that, so props to the druid. Okay, these two guys didn't get hit by the chains earlier on, which is a little bummer, but we pulled through. Chains still doing ridiculous amounts of damage, absolutely worth using. Just quickly, I ain't gonna quickly do nothing. I was gonna try and jump to the people in front of me by going into human form, or I should say troll form, like that, but they got out of my range before I could do it. So rogue is quick. Okay. Very good. We're going to pop some personals. We had our, after the wildfire go through, we're going to incapacitating roar to kick a couple of melts. I'm focusing on the iron torch because I want to kick that. I don't want to pull this with the next group because on the next group I want to be able to interrupt the bleed that the bone splinter guys do. We're going to give people movement speed. I'm going to focus on the iron torch for my actual interrupt ability, and I'm going to incapacitating roar or knock back the two bleed guys. I can incapacitating roar, so I'd rather do that, keep them stacked. They're going to start casting it any second now. I can interrupt that with my interrupts, called charge. They're just not casting it. There it is. One of them is going to do the charge, the other one's going to do that. They're both going to die before they do anything else that's relevant. Okay, we're going to pull the two lava bearers and the commander here. Probably could have pulled all of this together, to be completely honest, because their DPS is pretty high. Okay, I'm going to stack them over here. I'm going to try and get this one. The other one got blinded. I'll take care of this with my hibernate. I'm again not taking care of myself with personal cooldowns. I should especially use personal cooldowns before sitting there and casting, because I can't dodge or otherwise mitigate while I'm casting. At least I think I can. I'm not 100% sure on that. After the wildfire, coming in clutch, healing the rogue before he expires. Okay. Thankfully the rogue moved, so I didn't have to. Okay. I'm going to give everyone movement speed. I'm going to have a bit of a bigger pull here with the lava flares along with the blacksmith. And the two iron torches. Stack them up here in the middle. Going to use one charge of frenzied regen. I'm being very irresponsible with my own health here. Incapacitating roar to get some of those casts. Okay, we got that off. All is well. This iron torch is, I believe, the one that casts. It usually, in a group of two iron torches, only one iron torch were cast. I'm not sure why that is. I don't know if it's coded into the game like that, or if it's just been coincidence, but I've never seen more than one in a group cast. Going to go while the rogue has cooldowns. Going to pull that group down there by jumping and using Moonfire. Unfortunately, didn't CC the charge. You use personal cooldowns, I keep forgetting. Okay, there we go. That's coming in. Keep moving this. The poor mage is having probably conniptions from me moving them so much. Incapacitating roar because there were a bunch of casts. I'm going to interrupt that, and then I'm going to do my CC. Because the mage is sure as hell not polymorphing them enough. So I have to rely on that. Okay. The rogue has been absolutely great about it, though. She's done wonderful. I'm going to pull these guys, and you know what? I'm going to YOLO it, and I'm going to pull the boss with it. Time warp. Hopefully the mage sees that. Time warp. Come on, mage. See it. Use it. Mage, time warp. He's not seeing it, but we're kind of pulling through anyway. Oh, I messed it up. I really messed it up. I charged back too soon because I'm flustered because the mage is not using the time warp. Mage. Time warp. There we go, he used it. Ah, you saw that one. Okay. That's a bummer because I used my cooldowns at a different time, but okay. You should be able to blast through this boss now. I'm going to get knocked back here in a second. I'm going to actually wait for the circle to drop, and then I'm going to charge to move out of it. The first one I fucked up and left on the middle of the room. That was completely my bad, and I shouldn't have done it like that. It's going to jump to the middle of the room now. There we go. I'm going to CC the one in the back, and I'm going to... Okay, that one got blinded. Thank you, Rogue. This Rogue is an absolute beast. Has been doing so freaking well. Boss is almost dead here. Wait for the circle. Charge in. There we go. And that is Forge Master. Would have been a lot nicer if we got the Bloodlust right at the pull, but man, you can't have everything. Nice, we got the Shroud to get past that. I'm going to go back and give everyone movement speed. There we go. Hopefully the other Druid decides to give us movement speed after this. Or not. That's okay, dude. Save it for next season. This part of the dungeon always feels a little bad because we're just running, but I'm sure there's better ways to optimize this. Probably one of them is to just jump down and have the mobs teleport to you. Just going to quickly heal myself up a bit so I can jump in with more health. Let's go. Use Bark Skin. I'm going to use my offensive cooldowns as well. So my offensive cooldowns are my defensive cooldowns. Pushback is starting. I'm making sure to keep these Warden guys pointed away from the group so that this frontal doesn't ever end up being a concern. No one's kicking or CCing the back one. I don't know if I needed to move that much to do it, but one of the casts went through, unfortunately. The mage did see this one in the end. To use a Frenzied Regen charge there. I don't know how this one got... I had to re-hibernate because the mage decided to polymorph the one in the back. I'm not sure why. The mage really doesn't seem to know how this affix works, but that's okay. We can still get it done. We're almost at the end of the dungeon and I don't have to deal with the mage's shitty fucking gameplay anymore. Here we go. We're going to kick that. We're going to pull the rest of this. Okay, we're going to Survival Instincts because we have nothing else available right now. We do have Bark Skin up, but there's only so far Bark Skin can take us. I'm going to use one of my Frenzied Regen charges here because I don't have a defensive available. I'll use another Frenzied Regen charge here. We got good procs from the Frenzied Regens. I'm going to kick that. We have 30-some seconds until we have to deal with the thingy thing with the stuffy stuff, the Incorporeal, but now I have another Bark Skin available. Nobody is kicking the Molten Army, which is a little bit frustrating, but I have my kick available, and there we go. I don't know if I kicked it or someone else did, but it's been kicked, and that's what's important. We have a few of these to take care of because of that, but it looks like we had pretty good count, like we didn't go over the count too much, I believe. Okay, very nice. Let's give people movement speed and let's go do the last boss. Now for the last boss, I don't know if I explained it well last time, but there's treasures you need to pick up. You basically want to pick them up right away. Picking up a treasure does give you a damage over time debuff. I'm just going to deal with this so nobody else has to. The rogue did use blind, we used polymorph, we used everything. People are very aware of it. Now the treasures give you an extra action button. You use that extra action button when you want to, when the shield goes up, which is happening in 10 seconds, looking at the nameplate cooldown that I've added. That's one of the WeakAuras I've added. I think I started talking about that but never finished that thought because something else started happening. Now we want to use that. I'm going to pop all my shit before I use it because I'm using the charge, which is probably the most dangerous one to have to use. Okay, now we have all our cooldowns rolling and we're dealing extra damage to this boss while she's stunned. I'm going to hit the one that's closer to me. Hopefully someone takes the other one. I'm going to go and kick it because nobody was CCing it. I really need someone. Yeah, there we go. The mage decided to use his polymorph correctly for the first time. And I think we're good. I do need to go pick up another treasure. I think this might be a good time to do it. Because he's casting, or she is, sorry, casting the stuff. I'm going to knock back that add. And here comes the magma shield. I have a throwable thing that I can throw at him. Or her. I keep saying him. But it's quite clearly a her. Somebody hasn't been picking up the treasures. Hopefully somebody else picks up the treasure and we don't have to manually break this. Okay, there we go. I'm going to use some of my offensive cooldowns. Not much else I can do here. And just mash around the boss. Should be dead here. And there we go. That is a plus 10 thingy thing with the stuffy stuff. Neltharus. Oh, we even upgraded with plus 3. That was better than our plus 8 was a plus plus and our plus 10 is a plus plus plus. Plus 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 plus. I think we got some better better chain usage this run, even though we had some staggers after them. So for Neltharion's Lair, we're going to use the Dalaran the Hellstone. What the hell am I even saying, dude? Oh man, that made me laugh. Anyway, we're going to start flying over to do the Neltharion's Lair. So there's a 440 with a 418 friend. I'm going to decline them because I made a rule of not inviting people who are absolutely overgeared for the content. So we're gonna jump down on the 4 count. Oopsie.
5, 4,
I jumped a little early accidentally.
2, 1.
Hopefully it carries me through, because there's this little skip you can do where, oh nice, it worked. Where if you jump down and then activate while you're flying through, you get to basically skip a bit of the timer. It's not a big deal. It's kind of more of a big deal on super high keys where you want every second. Alright, so we're going to get through this. For the first pull, I usually go all the way to the tar spitters here. At least on this difficulty. None of these mobs are particularly hard to deal with. Just gotta look a bit for the thingy thing with the stuffy stuff, the little zones that this leaves behind. I'm gonna incapacitating roar so that these guys get CC'd and don't do their spit. When they do burrow, what they do as well is they reset aggro. So you have to make sure that you taunt or you get enough damage down on them so that they don't end up messing up your group. The way I route this dungeon is I pull these and I skip all the big mobs here on the side. Like I don't want the Crusher or the Hulk to be pulled by this. Probably didn't need to use Incarnation on this pull. Probably should have used it on the first one, skipped it on this one, and then used it again on the boss, but that's my bad. It's just me not really thinking and pushing buttons. We're going to finish off this group, and then we're going to jump down. The DPS is absolutely massive. This shaman is blasting these guys. He seems to be a bit overgeared. I didn't really check his item level. Let's take a look. 422, that's a bit high for a plus 10 key. I think 400 item level for a plus 10 key is perfectly fine, so I think I invited some people that are a bit too strong, but there weren't many people applying, so I had to settle for these. Now here what you want to do is you want to make sure that you do not point the boss at the group, and that you keep the ads aggroed on yourself so that you can so that people can cleave the boss and the ads. Because if the ads go over to the side here, it's going to make it harder for the DPS to cleave them down. I'm going to move just a little bit so I'm not standing in the death, in the poison from the ad. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to get that down. I'm going to get knocked back here. Razor Shards comes up right after that. I want to move out of that. There's no reason for me to take that as a tank. Okay, that got shackled undead. So I don't have to cast my Hibernate at it. But yeah, this is basically the whole fight is just making sure that you do, you kill these little ads. Because what happens if these ads are alive when the shatter goes through? The entire group takes a whole bunch more damage. Nobody really helped me kill that thing. I guess I should have focused it a bit more instead of switching back and forth between the boss and this. Okay, managed to avoid getting hit by that. I'm going to try and taunt that off, but people are just blasting it too hard. Now, I guess people are scared now because they missed one. Okay, here comes the shatter. I'm going to move in just a little bit closer so that the boss doesn't move as much, but I get knocked out of the poison zone. Rock shards are not happening quite yet. They're happening in 2, 1. There we go, razor shards. Sorry, not rock shards. And the boss is already dead. Yeah, these guys are blasting the DPS. I'm enjoying that. I can get behind that. But yeah, that's basically the whole fight, is kill ads and try to keep the boss as still as possible while pointing him away from the group. I'm going to have to reorganize my UI a little bit, but I'll do that after this dungeon and before I start recording for the next one. Here I skip these guys because you can, if you just hug the wall here, you can skip them even more easily so if a priest uses Mind Soothe. I'm going to drag this breaker into the next group. I have to make sure I interrupt the in Asher when he casts. I'm going to use Incapacitating Roar to interrupt the drummer. Once you interrupt the drummer once, you don't have to do it again. Like, he just won't do anything. There we go. We kick this guy because he does a stun, and it's quite a long-lasting stun if I'm not mistaken. Usually targets healers with it, so it's kind of nasty. And healers are the only ones that can remove it because it's a magic effect. There's the avalanche. You can move out of that frontal. We got out of combat, so the mob reset instantly. We're going to jump at the breaker. Now, if people directly target these guys, they're going to jump away. I'm going to directly target them. The reason being is because I have what's the Ursol's Vortex of it up on them. So they're going to get yoinked back, and that's going to keep everything nice and stacked so people can beat the crap out of them. That matters a lot more on Fortified than it does here on Tyrannical, because on Fortified, obviously, the trash has much more hit points. In a group, these poles are a little bit smaller. I could pull much bigger. I could maybe pull those together. I should have kicked that. I was too busy talking about what I'm doing instead of doing something that I need to be doing. Also, with the Hulk, you want to make sure that you never point that at the group. You really want to make sure that that doesn't hit the group because it will kill non-tanks. We hibernated and we hexed. Again, I let a cast go through. I will kick this one because at this point I'm ashamed that I didn't kick the other ones. Okay, very nice. Hulk is dead. We're going to give everyone movement speed. Now the bleed is keeping me in bear form because I want the extra armor from and damage reduction from the bear form. We're going to pull the patrol and this breaker. And we're going to pop some cooldowns here. Rage of the Sleeper and Barkskin. A little bit messy here. We're going to try to kick that. There we go. Just really focusing on keeping the breaker and the Hulk turned away from the group. As a DPS, when the breaker does his avalanche thing, you want to just start moving, because at the end of the cast, he will put down circles on others. There we go, we got out of combat, so that reset. I have my my Ursol's Vortex available again, so I'm going to drop that on top of them. And I'm going to directly target these guys, so, because when you directly damage them, they will at some point try to leap away like that. This one jumped, we weren't focusing him directly, people were just cleaving him, so he didn't jump away as soon as he should have, or as soon as I expected him to, because nobody was focusing him. So the Ursol's Vortex just ran out. Oh, thank you, Shaman, for interrupting. Very nice. I can't kick the next one because I used my interrupt right after the Shaman, but the priest is going to take care of it. Very nice. And we're going to wait for that to go away by us leaving combat, and then we're going to pull the boss. Once he lands, he's going to knock back. I'm going to charge, keep him where he is. With this boss, one really cool thing that you can do to help your group out is you can basically, when he drops the first totem, what you want to do is you want to move him in such a way that he drops the next totem on top of it. Okay, he used Strike of the Earth, or whatever the heck it's called. Now here's the totem, and then you rotate him, and that'll put the other one right on top of it. And then you can just stack them, and you can DPS that down. Together you can cleave it. This actually helps a lot because it makes the totems cleavable. You don't have to hard switch to totems to be able to finish them off. They're in range for any melee to cleave them. I'm going to get into a position here where I'm not stacked on top of the Shaman, because that way, if the hand things that come out, those things, if they go on me or him, we're not going to hit each other with our own. Here's one totem, here's the other totem. They're nice and stacked. I'm going to try and stay inside of the druid's little heal thing. Okay, and now we track this one. Okay. I have a lot of shit on my screen. I need to work on that. Okay, it's this one. I think it's this one. I always hesitate, but I'm fairly confident it's this one. I think I kept good track of it. Okay, there's only one affix. I'm gonna try and CC it. Oh, it vanished because we got out of combat, but we weren't. That was weird. Usually they only disappear when you go out of combat. So seeing it disappear like that was a little bit weird, but I'll take it. Not having to wait or CC it. I'm cool with that. Cool, let's give everyone movement speed. Thank you. You can right click me and jump on top of me. Mount. But I guess nobody wants to. Okay, with 57%, what we have to do is we have to pull these guys to make sure that we hit the percentage mark without having to pull extra stuff after the last boss. So we're going to just make sure here we pull everything. These guys kind of hurt. The bleed that they give you is pretty strong, even outside of Fortified. On Fortified, you definitely want to make sure you overlap at least 2 cooldowns because they really hurt. As Bear Druid, I should say. As Paladin, one of your cooldowns should be more than enough to survive this, I think. I don't know much about Protection Warrior tanking or Blood DK, but Blood DK, I really don't want to even talk about Blood DK. Blood DK is crazy. We're going to try and pull this to the next group. We're going to use an Incapacitating Roar on the Grubmaster's grubs that they spawn. The Grubmasters actually have a frontal cone. It's a bit of a frontal slam that does quite a bit of AoE damage. Okay, we have the 2 grubs. We're going to Incapacitating Roar them. Gonna make sure I keep aggro on them because they do actually melee things for quite a bit of damage. And we're going to pull these 2 last groups together as well. I'm going to try and target. Yeah, there we go. I was struggling to target that thing to get it off the other person. Okay, we have the grub. I'm going to taunt the grub, and I'm going to Incapacitating Roar the grub. Didn't have taunt for that. Okay, we have Shackle on that. The priest is definitely right on top of it. My WeakAura for the Incorporeal isn't working the way I expected it to. I expected it to actually literally scream at me when the Incorporeal goes off, but that's something I need to adjust. Maybe it's using a voice or a channel that is turned down completely. Okay, when these guys drop down, what I want to do is I want to drop my Ursol's Vortex on top of them. That'll yoink them back and also slow them. As DPS, you want to drop the circles that are there in such a way that they eventually walk into it or get hit by it as soon as they jump down, which is a bit hard to do because you don't know exactly where they're going to drop. If you're a class that can dispel poisons, having that on this boss fight is amazing because Toxic Wretch does so much damage. I believe the Shaman can drop Poison Cleansing Totem, and I believe he is. Here's another Toxic Wretch. I don't have to worry about my health bar on it, but he definitely does. This is the most recent thingy thing that dropped, so I'm going to stand in that so it doesn't despawn while I'm being pulled in. This is what you're supposed to stand in to slow yourself. You can also stand behind some of these eggs and get stuck so that it can't pull you. But if you're not, for instance, a druid or something else that can move quickly, like if you're a paladin, you might have trouble getting to that spot before you have to actually be there. So I'm going to try and stay in range for this and also drop this on top of them. I'm going to hex this one that's closer. Or not hex, but sleep. I really need someone to CC that other one. Luckily we did. Okay, I'm going to use some personal cooldowns here. And the boss is dead. I got a little flustered because I was trying to CC the Incorporeal there for a second, but it worked out in the end. And the druid exits that fight with more mana than he had when he went into it. That's amazing. This druid's doing really well. Good job. Jod? Yod? I don't know how to say that. We're gonna pull this because it's not fortified. Okay, the Demolisher, once it hits 70%, is going to attempt to cast thingy thing. We're going to be ready for it. We're going to Incapacitating Roar that. That way he just does nothing. You can completely ignore the Demolisher if you interrupt that, because he only casts it once. There are a few mobs in the game like that, like the drummer guy as well. If you interrupt him once he starts casting drum once, he basically doesn't do it again, so you don't have to worry about him at all anymore. Okay, there we go. We're going to give people movement speed like so. And we're going to pull one of these groups at a time. Even on Tyrannical, you do not want to pull both of these groups unless you're doing like a +2 key and you really outgear the content. But yeah, you want to avoid pulling those for sure. We can soothe this frenzy. I didn't do that on the first one I pulled, but I should have. We're going to start making our way into that direction. I'm going to turn him this way so nobody gets hit by that swipe, and now I'm going to switch over to this. Barkskin and this. I do believe we'll have count here. If not, then I missed something somewhere, but I believe we're going to have enough. Because the Dominators give 5%. I'm going to Incapacitating Roar here. I'm going to remove that Frenzy. 95% and 5% from the Dominator, and we're good. Perfect count. Very nice. You saw the route, you know how to get perfect count. Hopefully nobody butt pulls anything, but if they do, well, it's not your fault. You can skip some of the stuff later on, like the water mobs. Okay, now for this boss, I freaking love this boss as a tank. It's super fun. Constant tank busters, as well as this crystal thing. Now we want to position it so that his left arm, the one not holding the weapon, is right in front of the, right on top of the, whatchamacallit, the crystal. Or close to the crystal, because that's where the magma ad spawns, and that way you can guarantee an instant cast stun, or an instant stun on the thingy thing with the stuffy stuff. We're going to hibernate that. That one got shackled undead. That's perfect. I'm going to do this. I have some time before I have to do anything. So I'm going to move him closer to this so that the shaman can keep meleeing. Or at least try to keep meleeing. I think that's close enough for it to happen. Okay, another crystal sphere. It's going to go up on top of these. Oh no, I got him way too close. That was my mistake. I actually made a huge mistake here that could have killed us if we didn't have this extra crystal there. So the mistake I made is the hitbox of the crystal and the hitbox of the landslide are much larger than they seem. And what ends up happening is sometimes you can have it where the landslide doesn't seem to be in a position to break. Okay, I'm just going to try and position this properly first before I explain what I'm doing. But yeah, the landslide basically and the thing are pretty massive, and you should make sure that he doesn't stand too close to the crystal. Otherwise, he'll break it with the landslide, even when it doesn't seem like it'll happen. Oh, nice! We got a chest piece that I already have a chest piece that I terrified. Oh well. Need those bracers? Oh, never mind. I don't need the frickin' bracers. I'm gonna ask if Yad. I'm gonna ask if Yad needs this chest. Oh, he used the portal, so I don't think he does. I'm gonna use the portal as well, and peace out. That was a nice, pretty nice run. I don't think... Did we wipe? No, we didn't wipe. I don't think anyone even died. That was a really good run. This healer was amazing. I really enjoyed playing with this healer. Alright, so in this video, we 3-starred a +10 Neltharus. The group was doing quite good DPS, and also we had some good chain utilization. I think what I did poorly in that dungeon was I didn't utilize my defensives enough while I was gathering things, and in general I just didn't utilize my defensives enough. I need to get better at doing that. Then in the second dungeon what we did was a... what was it? My brain... I'm pulling the blank. Neltharion's Lair. Neltharion's Lair went pretty well. We got to explain some very fun tactics, show some pretty cool tips as a tank. And even as a Guardian Druid tank, there's some unique things you can do, like on the Worm Boss, you can use Ursal's Vortex to make the ads that much easier to kill, to give the DPS more time to kill the ads. And we showed a cool tip with instantly stunning the ad from the last boss. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. We got no gear upgrades, unfortunately. We did get some Drake crests. We're probably going to use those to upgrade our champion pieces. But other than that, we got no loot, which is unfortunate. But I have been blessed by RNGs quite heavily up until now, so it's normal to just not get any loot for a couple of dungeons. And that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next episode.